More of a narrowcast. Hello, everybody. Here we go. And we're recording. Yes, we are. And wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am. All right. Welcome to the Alien Invasion number 249, recorded on Thursday, October 18th, 2018. I'm Dave Nelson, along with Mr. Brad Ludwig. Last time I got your name wrong, Brad.
What?
Remember I said it weirdly? I mixed up some letters. I said,
oh, yeah. That's all right.
Brad Luglows or something. I don't
know. I still love you, Dave.
So what's going on in your world?
You know, we're gearing up for Halloween, and this year, Alex has the kids in Alex's school, and it blows my mind because he's 17, and this is the senior high. They're doing basically a Halloween costume parade, and there's a possibility for the kids to win cash prizes if they, take the number one spot in a, like scary costume, or, they have different categories. So, yeah, we're going to work on a kind of a scary, somewhat contemporary scarecrow costume for Alex.
Oh, cool. That sounds exciting.
Yeah, I've kind of got some things planned out in my head, and we'll see how they actualize in the real world.
That's something that's up your alley. You're like all about the projects.
I'm all about trying something weird and interesting, and if I get like a good, well-formed idea, and I want to build it. So
there you go. Good luck with that. It's exciting times here in Canada. Yesterday, recreational marijuana became legal.
Legalize weed.
So I could potentially be smoking a joint while we're doing the show, but I'm not going to.
Right now.
Something else that's exciting is my brand new phone right here, the LG V30. I'm very impressed with it. I'll show you why, too. It's got a really neat camera that has all these like manual settings on it. Like for video, I'll show you real quick. It see if I could. It's got all these, like, you can control the shutter speed, the aperture, the ISO, the focus, and even like mess with the microphone too. Like you can change the way the microphone is picking up audio. So
I've got some of that functionality on the Galaxy S8.
Oh, okay.
I don't know about the microphone, but yeah, some of that functionality is available on that. So yeah, it is pretty exciting. No doubt about it.
Let's jump into the show. On this episode, we'll be running down our top 4 favorite alien weapons. So let's just jump into it, Brad.
Okay.
I believe, and these are all like in the fictional alien universes. We didn't do anything from the real world. I was thinking about it. I thought maybe I could like throw in, you know, how aliens paralyze the people that they're abducting.
Sure.
You know, I thought of that, but I'm like, you know, that's not that exciting. We don't really know too much about it. So
yeah, I think we limited our scope to alien weapons in media.
Yes.
But, you know, it was bladed, you know, energy weapons, even ships weapons, things, you know, we left it somewhat open, but it had to be something that appeared in some form of media, you know, that we were going to go over. So,
and it's not the best. It's just our favorites.
Correct.
Okay. So number 4, what do you got?
Number 4 is a weapon that is memorable, but is horribly impractical as a melee styled weapon, especially now that Alex and I are taking martial arts. We're doing Eskrima, which is Philippine stick fighting. The Batleth, which is Worf, and we're kind of introduced to it by Lieutenant Worf. It is a Klingon melee weapon that kind of looks like two crescent moons that are sort of stacked, one on top the other, one a little bit smaller than the other. And it has like three handholds that have some form of like a leather or some type of material wrapped around. So you have three different areas in which you can hold it. And like I said, it's a beautiful looking weapon, but it really is horribly, horribly impractical because it's only sharp on one side. It is kind of hooked a little bit. So, I mean, you can actually kind of get in there and kind of stick it into somebody and pull it back. So, I mean, it definitely looks like a deadly weapon, but trying to spin it around and maneuver with it, because it is not like a pole, it's like flat. And it probably looks like it's about maybe 6 inches deep, 7 inches deep. So, I mean, it's really, really weird and awkward. And the reason why I put it on the list is because it's so memorable, because the first time I saw it, I went, oh, that looks neat. And wow, that's got to be really clumsy to work with.
But yet they pull it off. Like,
yes,
Worf is really good at the batleth. And not everybody is. He is, though. And it's not the only handheld weapon that the Klingons have.
No.
But I think, like you said, it's the most memorable.
Yes.
It reminds me of a big hacksaw.
Kind of, yeah.
You would blow up a hacksaw like maybe 3 or 4 times. That it's almost the same shape, and you would hold it the same way if you wanted to use a hacksaw as a weapon.
Yes. And the weapon, I jumped over to Memory Alpha, the Memory Alpha website to kind of get some details. And as we are told in the Star Trek universe, the first Batleth was created by Kahless the Unforgettable in their 9th century. And yeah, he basically took a chunk of his hair, dropped it in lava, and plunged the burning lock into the Lake of Luthor and twisted it into a blade.
Oliver, or Brad, I almost called you Oliver. Sorry, it's my no, you can't say it like a normal human. You have to put a Klingon guttural sound into all this. So repeat the last line that you said, but give it some Klingon, okay?
Okay. Let's see. Kahless cut the lock of his hair and dropped it into the lava of the Kristak volcano, then plunged the burning lock into the Lake of Luthor and twisted it into a blade. Is that better?
Kapla!
Kapla!
Yes. Very well. Very good. You know, they really based a lot of things off of Kahless. Kahless was a big influence on that society. They went with Kahless, and they pretty much wrote it all the way.
Yeah, definitely the core, I don't want to say mythological figure, but the core kind of historical figure or mythologized maybe figure in Klingon lore and history.
All right. So is that it? Is that all you got for this one?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, we do see Worf use it a few times. He fights Duras using doing a Batleth blade duel, essentially. And yeah, Duras, that freaking guy.
Worf, when he moved to Deep Space Nine, he kind of left the Batleth behind and went with kind of a more of a sword type blade. I seem to remember that he would kind of put it like he had a thing on his back where he would he would store it on his back, and then when he needed it, he'd pull it out and fight with that. I think my memory is right on that. I'm not sure. Maybe not.
It's all right.
All right, so let's do my number 4, which is also a Star Trek weapon. It's the Ferengi Energy Whip. Another one that's not really that effective and doesn't make a whole lot of sense. This one was introduced on the Next Generation episode, The Last Outpost. I believe that's either season 1 or season 2. So the Energy Whip looks and handles like a typical Earth bullwhip and discharges a powerful phaser-like energy pulse. In the Enterprise episode Acquisition, the Ferengi landing party that attempted to raid the Starship Enterprise in 2151 was armed with energy whips. The Ferengis encountered by the USS Enterprise D away team in the Delphi Ardu system in 2364 were also armed with energy whips. And that's, again, from the episode The Last Outpost. And I think that's the last time that we see the energy whips. Although it is included in the Marauder Mo, a line of Ferengi action figures. They had an energy whip toy with them as well.
I remember that.
Yeah. They didn't make much sense, but they're cool and they're unusual. I didn't want to go with something like a, like a Klingon disruptor or a blaster from the Empire. I wanted to go with something interesting and interesting and unusual, and I chose the Ferengi Energy Whip. So there you go. Let's move on to our number 3s. What do you got?
My number 3, going back to kind of my interest in comic books, is a weapon called the Mega Rod.
The Mega Rod.
And essentially, it's probably a 2-foot long ornate tube that is capped on both ends. And it is a energy weapon, essentially. It's like a wand. You point and shoot. Comes out one end. And what it does is it shoots like kinetic energy, I guess, for the best way to describe it. But it's focused kinetic energy. So you could break through a really thick wall or an armored vehicle or something like that. What's kind of interesting about it is because this weapon was created by the people of Apocalypse. So Darkseid, like the big bad that
okay.
He's got the red eyes that shoot the Omega beams. It is, like I said, an energy-based weapon. And at one point, Big Barda, who is a good character who kind of defected from Apocalypse with her husband, Scott Free, who became Miracle Man, she found herself in a situation where their ship lost power, or it didn't quite have enough power for them to get to where they needed to go as quickly as possible. And they actually were able to make a modification and plug it into their ship's energy system to power or add more power to their warp engines that they had, or their heavy engines that they used to travel great distances in the comic. And I'm pretty sure that was during the 1980s Justice League comic series. So, yeah, it's all the way awesome. Like I said, it's a kind of a brass or gold looking ornate tube. And yeah, point and shoot.
The way that you described it, Brad, the one thing that came to my mind was the old man-made tennis ball cannons. Did you ever make one of those when you were growing up?
Yes.
I don't know why. When you described it, I'm like, that's the first thing that came to my mind was the tennis ball cannon. I don't know.
I'm gonna try to, because I keep saying it's like an ornate tube. Let's find a good image here that's kind of large. Yeah, we'll go with that one. I'm going to do a screen share so our YouTube folk who watch us can, for the love of all that's holy,
get a better idea as to
what it looks like. So here we go. I am now sharing the image, and it looks kind of like, if you fish and you fish like really hardcore fish like muskie, it looks like a muskie club that's been covered in gold and had some designs put on it. A muskie club has got like a weighted end to it, so it's a little bit thicker, and that's really kind of what it looks like.
It also looks like the lightsaber when it's not turned on, sort of.
Or like Lady Liberty's torch, but not quite as tapered.
Yeah. Okay. Or a baton in running in the relay races.
So, yeah, kind of.
All right.
So there you go. For you folks that are checking out the YouTube, you got to see the Mega Rod.
It's a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's 1.5 feet, 2 feet. Well, the thing to note is Big Barda is probably about 7 feet tall.
Okay.
So it looks, it would be, it's a lot bigger than it looks in that image that I just showed you.
Okay. Moving on to my number 3. My number 3 is the Predator shoulder cannon. Now, I don't remember exactly what it looks like, but I have seen more than one Predator movies. Haven't seen the latest one. Kind of bombed, though.
No, it really came and went and did not get a whole lot of good feedback. What I'm going to do here, the neat thing about it is it's like an arm that comes up, and it's jointed in a couple of places. It's almost like if you were to take a dog or cat's leg, and like if a slipper was made out of the gun, that's where the foot would go. And that's where the gun is. This is a side view. I am going to open this image here, and
is it attached to their uniform or their armor?
Yeah, it's here. I'm going to share this for the YouTubers. So here we go. It's got this base piece here, which kind of goes on the pauldron, the shoulder armor.
Okay.
And it's attached to that. And it, I can't remember if it has its own tracking or if the tracking is attached to like the gauntlet that the Predator wears, but it will swivel and fire on.
Well, how they aim it is through their eyepiece.
Oh, through their helmet. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
Cool. Now we have a better idea as to what it looks like.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting weapon. Good choice.
Thank you. I wanted something kind of in between, something bigger than like a light weapon, hand held something, but nothing too big. So I'm going to just run down some of the details on this, maybe cover some stuff that we already did, though. Featured in all 5 movies. I don't know if that includes the latest one. It's the Predator's signature weapon and is the one everybody remembers after watching the film. It's also the most powerful weapon at the Predator's disposal. Essentially, what it is a gun mounted on the Predator's shoulder, his left shoulder. At the Predator's will, it fires powerful blue balls of plasma at a target. It's also extremely accurate because it features, because of the features on the Predator's mask. So whatever I'm guessing, whatever the Predator's looking at, that's it. That's where it aims. And let's see. Firstly, the shoulder cannon is connected to the Predator's vision mode. When an object is in motion, a red triangle focuses in on the target in its vision, which is responsible for the great accuracy of the weapon. Okay. There's also a targeting laser, which is beamed from the Predator's mask onto the target. So that's, I think, in the movies when they would see like a red light on their body, that's when the Predator was aiming
Sure.
target. That makes sense. Okay. So that is my number 3. Let's move on to our number 2. Brad, what do you got?
My number 2 is kind of not what you would maybe have thought would be on the list.
Okay, no, we want variety. We want something different.
Yeah, and
considered fair.
And the excuse me, I apologize. The kind of quote unquote weapon that I chose was Gort from The Day the Earth Stood Still, which I'm going with the 1950s version of that. Did you know that that was based on a book?
No, I did not.
It was actually based on like a short story from the 40s.
Okay. All right.
And it was called Farewell to the Master. It was there he goes. In the 1940 astounding science fiction. I think they were in pulps.
Yeah, Pulp magazine.
And it was a short story that was then converted into the script for the movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still. Now, the reason why I kind of chose it as a weapon is that Gort had the capability to basically kill everybody on Earth. If everything went south, Klaatu could just go get him. And it had the visor that could shoot beams that either could just hurt a person or could actually like vaporize a tank. It just...
Didn't we see that in the film?
Yes, we did. And the interesting thing about it is they are like a manufactured race of mechanical beings, essentially, that are used in conjunction with Klaatu, who is kind of like a peacekeeping space force for all intents and purposes. And the whole premise of the film is this kind of consortium of civilized worlds came to the Earth because they deemed them dangerous and they wanted to kind of have them get their house in order, or they were going to have to destroy them before they potentially could destroy civilization in outer space. So Klaatu does get fatally injured, and Gort does kind of help bring him back from the dead, albeit temporarily. And Gort is kind of called off from killing everybody on the planet. So
thank God. Dodged a bullet there.
Dodged a laser beam. Yeah. But yeah, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Gort.
Plus, it's an awesome name. Gort.
Yeah, actually in the book, in the original short story, it was Nut. G-N-U-T.
Okay. Doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, Gort sounds a lot more sinister.
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I'd be more afraid of a Gort than a Nut.
Yeah, because you'd just be laughing at a nut.
Yeah, you'd be like, wall, macadamia. What's going on here?
Tell me what kind of nut you are. Okay, so mine is kind of along the same lines. Like it's from the same era or genre type, sort of. I don't know. It's from War of the Worlds. It's the tripod weapons. We saw it, of course, in the original book. and then in all the live action adaptations of it, although it was a little bit different in the Tom Cruise version of War of the Worlds, but still, it had the same essential design and purpose. So the tripod, also known as the fighting machine, it's one of the fictional machines used by the Martians in both the H.G. Wells 1898 novel and the live action adaptations. It is a fast-moving, three-legged walker, reported to be 100 feet tall, with multiple whip-like tentacles used for grasping, and two lethal weapons, the heat ray and a gun-like tube used for discharging canisters of a poisonous chemical, black smoke, that kills humans and animals. It is the primary machine the Martians use when they invade Earth, along with the handling machine, the flying machine, and the embankment machine. So, what was the deal in the Tom Cruise version of the story? He ended up at the very end of the movie, like inside one of them, or
I never watched it.
Okay. You know what? Don't worry about it then. You don't have to watch it.
I just it's to me it just didn't really feel like it needed to be retold, so I didn't bother.
It has its moments, but I think you're fine watching the 1950s version of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Moving on to your number 2. We are just no. You're number 1. We're already number 1s.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Talk, Brad.
My number 1 is going back to Star Trek. I hate to dip into that well twice, but I made this one number 1 because of how powerful and how deadly this particular thing was in the particular film. It's the Genesis device.
Genesis. Give me Genesis.
Now, the whole thing, and and we've seen in our own contemporary real world things being weaponized, essentially. Do too much of something or use something as it's not really intended, and it becomes a weapon. And the Genesis device in the film Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, the best Star Trek film.
I agree.
It was originally designed as helping to deal with like overpopulation and colonizing planets that had the potential, like they were in a habitable zone, the Goldilocks zone, as it were, but just missed an opportunity for something, and it's a dead planet. There was no life on it. They could launch this Genesis device at it, and it would like pretty much instantly terraform the planet, so that you could just walk onto the planet and you could start growing crops or building your places to live or whatever. And in the film, Khan wanted to use it to destroy a world. Basically, you could overwrite the life on a planet, totally destroying a whole planet full of people with this device, and just basically rewriting it so something else could be there. But I mean, the whole purpose that he wanted to do was just genocide at a planetary level. And what ends up happening in the film, if you for some reason haven't seen it, is it's used in a nebula, and it takes all that material and actually kind of turns it into a solar system, essentially.
Balls it up like a snowball.
Yeah, it just kind of pulls everything together. And although we find out in 3 it's not stable, but it's whatever. But yeah, the Genesis device to me just seemed to be the most innocuous, designed for something peaceful, but just turned to be used into a really potentially um, devastating weapon on a planetary scale. It's just that's frightening to me.
I agree. There's some really big weapons like that in science fiction. Like there's the reality bomb from Doctor Who.
Sure.
There's got to be a weapon from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? There's got to be a big, massive weapon. Wasn't there a big, massive weapon in Hitchhikers?
Well, oh God, I'm trying to think.
Every
I'm
franchise,
pretty
like,
sure
they
that
have their
they're
big weapon.
the well, I guess going back to the actual core root of the story, the Earth is destroyed by a ship to put in a interstellar bypass.
Right.
But and it's even mentioned in the books that the Hitchhiker's Guide itself kind of leads to horrible things happening in the universe. So yeah, it's there is a dangerous, horrible weapon in almost every form of science fiction.
There was the in Spaceballs, the giant vacuum.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yes. Sucking out the atmosphere of Druidia. Yep.
All right. So let's wrap this thing up. Finally, my number one is the Star Killer base from Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I could have gone with the Death Star, but the Star Killer base is way, way more powerful. Deep in the unknown regions, the First Order constructed a super weapon that used an entire planet as its weapons platform. The deadly Star Killer harvested energy from its system's star, contained within the magnetic field inside the planetary core, and then converted that energy into an ultra-powerful beam that blasted through hyperspace, able to sterilize the worlds of a distant star system with a single shot. See, the Death Star could destroy a planet. This could destroy a whole planetary system.
Yeah.
It obliterated the New Republic capital of time. The planet was then destroyed in a daring resistance raid. So, yeah, the Star Killer base was destroyed by the Resistance, but the New Republic capital was destroyed by the Star Killer base.
Yep, because we had to get a demonstration of the weapons so we knew how dire the situation really was.
Yep, exactly. Did the same thing in Star Wars Episode 4.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. That is our top 4 alien weapons. Did you think of anyone? Like, were there any on your list that didn't make your list?
All the ones that really stuck out in my mind, I put on the list. And I think that, and I didn't want to do like the phaser or the lightsaber because that, I'm not trying to be hipstery or anything, but, we know about those.
Yep.
These are the things that I thought were either horribly impractical, which is why I mentioned it, like the Batleth, or something you didn't necessarily think of, but when you really think about it, yeah, it's a weapon like Gort or, or the Genesis device. I mean, I remember when I saw that movie thinking, oh, that's amazing. And then, and I was a teenager, and then seeing somebody take something and make it so evil, it hadn't entirely, I'd heard of it, but it like gelled as a concept for me. And that's why I put it as my number 1, because it like woke me up completely to, oh yeah, people do make, well, I mean, like the atom bomb, splitting the atom. We wanted to do it to see if we could, and look at where we are now. So, yeah, it could create a lot of energy, but used improperly, it's devastating. So that was what really kind of gelled that concept for me.
I think a couple ones that I thought of was I already had a Star Wars thing, so I was thinking about also putting the AT-ATs on there.
Sure.
Whatever they're called, and the from Star Trek 2009, the red matter.
Oh yeah,
injecting it into the core of planets and creating the wormhole, destroying the planets.
Yeah,
that was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And I also thought, and we discussed this briefly on the last episode, the Borg, Borgifying. I don't know if that's
yeah,
being assimilated into a Borg.
Yeah,
It's kind of a weapon, but not really. And I think there's a top 4 list for something like that, like not necessarily weapons, but how aliens turn non-aliens or other races into them, or turn them into doing something that they want them to do, kind of.
Sure.
We'll have to think of a cool name for that and do a top 4 list. Like, you could do the Borg turning people into Borgs. You could say the Cybermen turning people into Cybermen. There's got to be a few other ones, but that's just an idea for another time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I hope that everybody enjoyed our top 4 list this time around. If you have an idea for a future top 4 list, let us know. Reach out to us via email, aliens@gncasts.com. You can call our voicemail number, 805-328-3966, or jump on to gncasts.com and click on the little speak pipe thingy on the left-hand side and send us a message. Let us know what you think would make a great top 4 list on the alien invasion. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Alien Invasion, a Galactic Network podcast. On the next episode, we'll be going back to the original format, covering the news, looking at a sighting of the week, and reviewing our picks and warnings. And I got a couple of good picks and warnings for next time. I got to choose between them because so much has happened since the last regular episode that I've got plenty to choose from. Which is good. This is one of the reasons why we went to the different formats, to give us time to like collect some good, instead of just putting anything on the picks and warnings. This gives us a chance to put some really good stuff on there.
Yep.
All right.
Agreed.
We'd like to thank Monkey Warhol for providing the intro song. It's called Alien Syndrome. You can find it and other Monkey Warhol stuff at monkeywarhol.bandcamp.com. Also to Retward von Dernberg, a composer from Germany, for our closing song called Be Water. Learn more about him and his music at thecaravel.net. CARAVEL.net. And also thanks to Ben Olson.
Thanks, Ben,
for recording our disclaimer audio at the start of this episode. So again, thanks for joining us. Final thought, Brad? You got anything?
You know what? I don't think I'd... actually, yesterday, we went to NTC, which is our technical college, local technical college, and took Alex to check out some things to see if he was interested in, doing further education after he graduates high school, and if he wanted to, what he might be interested in. And we actually got, they now have a STEM center, which is science, technology, electronics.
Awesome.
So and they have a number of 3D printers. They have a number of laser cutters and engravers. And it was really kind of fascinating to see this whole huge lab that they created to do that. So, thinking about Star Trek and the replicator, I always think of the 3D printer in that regard as being our first replicator, as it were.
Cool. All right. Again, thanks for joining us, everybody. And until next time, have a fantastic day and or week or month.
Bye.
Hang on 1 second. And bam.
And cut.
I'm going to stop the stream. Thanks for joining. I'm guessing that was Growly Bear probably watching us. If not, I don't know who it is. Somebody. Thanks for watching us.